This eye's still a little bit blurry. The other part of this eye is blurry. But the main thing that's bothering me at the minute is double vision.
When he's looking up and in, the left eye is going up and in extremely well. The right eye is kind of stopping. You see how the right eye is just not as high up as the left, and that's a restriction. So the eye wants to go and he wants to track it, but the more I do this, the more he's going to start aching in that upper inner aspect. And then what he's going to do is, if he's in a fight situation, he's not going to be dealing with it. He doesn't want the ache in the eye, and he also doesn't want to have double. So what he's going to do is tilt his head. So that's on that side. If you look at the left, which should be matching it, so you're looking across, up, 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 as much as you can. And you can see how, again, with the right eye, it's up and out, but the left eye is just not able to go as extremely up as possible.
When I got poked in the eye, obviously, and then people were like, his eye wasn't even red. Does your eye always go red when there's something wrong, or is that?
You can absolutely lose your vision without having a painful red eye. So you don't need a red eye to have blurred vision at all. So no.
Yeah. So how long till I can train properly, spar?
It's a long road ahead, but the prognosis is guarded at the moment. I would recommend that you wouldn't fight until your double vision's resolved.
Tom Aspinall went to the doctors, and the doctors has confirmed that he's got some issues with his eyeballs. He's got some soft tissue damage to the eyeballs, and that will happen when a 6'6" Frenchman sticks both of his fingers knuckle deep into your eyeballs, okay? So that's not surprising. But what is surprising is that he has something called Brown syndrome, which basically is where the eyes aren't moving in tandem with one another. So therefore, the eyes, which are basically cameras, right, for your brain, in case you don't know, they're seeing different images. And when you see different images, you see double, or maybe sometimes the brain cuts out one of the images so that it doesn't get confusing and you don't get headaches and stuff like that.
Tom Aspinall has always stood out in the heavyweight division for a rare blend of humility, professionalism, and terrifying power, the kind that earns fan respect long before the cage doors close. For years, he carried himself with the type of composure and reliability the UFC wishes every champion had. He took short-notice fights, saved cards that were falling apart, stepped into chaotic situations without complaint, and never used drama or trash talk to get attention. Yet somehow, he has become the target of one of the nastiest smear jobs the heavyweight division has seen in a long time. And all of it started with an injury that was legitimately serious and potentially career-altering. What happened to him during the fight with Cyril Gane wasn't just a minor poke or momentary blur. The damage affected the movement of his eye, his depth perception, triggered migraines, and raised concerns about long-term consequences that could impact not only his future in the sport, but his everyday life. Tom explained all of this openly and honestly in his update, but instead of receiving understanding, the reaction took an ugly turn, and it opened the door for Jon Jones, who had been silent for over a year, to suddenly jump back into the spotlight. While Tom had repeatedly asked for a unification bout, Jon stayed completely off the radar. No answers, no clarity, no acknowledgement, nothing. Tom kept fighting, kept training, kept representing the division with class, all while holding an interim belt that felt like more of a dead end than a true championship. Jon's silence made it obvious that the unification fight was only going to happen if every condition favored him perfectly. Then, the moment Tom revealed how serious the injury was, the moment he showed vulnerability, everything changed. That long silence disappeared instantly, and suddenly, Jon Jones had more to say than he had in nearly 2 years. But his comments weren't lighthearted or competitive. They were dismissive, condescending, and designed to make Tom look like he quit, like he didn't have the heart to push through adversity, like his championship mentality was an illusion. All this, despite knowing that eye injuries are among the most dangerous, unpredictable, and potentially career-ending issues any fighter can experience.
Situation looked like Curtis Blaydes came to beat Tom Aspinall up that night. Tom throws a kick and magically gets hurt. I would expect a fighter to at least attempt to stand back up or at least limp. And with Tom, he was just completely out of the fight. And his last situation was Cyril Gane. He gets poked in the eye. Normally you see fighters that are doing this number, trying to get the doctor to look at it. And actually, initially the doctor's just like, he seems fine. Tom's like, no, I can't see. The guy wasn't trying to see. Yeah. The guy didn't want to see. The eye that he was covering appeared to be the eye that actually didn't get penetrated. One eye, finger goes all the way underneath the eyelid. The other eye, it was on top of the eyelid. And he ends up grabbing the eye where the finger was on top of the eyelid. So I don't even think Tom really knew which eye was supposed to be more compromised. He just knew that he had been fouled and it was his way out. So that alone shows me a little bit what's behind the facade of this whole Tom Aspinall character.
Can we get full-time bully Aspinall after this smear campaign? How are you going to be on the comeback?
Mate, when I come back, there is no more Mr. Nice Guy. Nice Tom. When it comes to MMA, he's gone. And I'm going full bad guy, I think.
I feel as Tom's a great athlete, but I do feel like he's a one-trick pony.
When you look at people talking shit online of like, oh, you know, he's ducking this guy or he's dodging this guy, they haven't seen the work that you've done in the past and how dominant you've been. We know you're not ducking this guy. I mean, talk to me about what you saw in his fight with Gane. I mean, because Gane looked like he was controlling the fight.
With Cyril Gane?
Yeah.
I believe that his wrestling and jiu-jitsu is incredibly overrated. He has a beautiful 1-2. I got to learn a lot about his patterns in his last fight. Beautiful 1-2. That's really about it. He couldn't touch Cyril Gane at all. That's the way I felt. I felt like Gane was just getting warmed up. Gane's hands was down. He was shaking his shoulders, bouncing around.
He was touching him.
That jab.
He busted him open.
He was so comfortable.
I think Tom was looking for a way out, and he took it. He needs to change his game plan.
When Tom gets hurt, he's like immediately incapacitated. It's like, you poke my eye.
He never tried to look. It was rag on the eye immediately. He doesn't have the dog in him.
Injuries aren't the kind of thing fighters can simply tough out. When ignored, they're the exact type of damage that leaves athletes partially blind or dealing with lifelong complications. And this is exactly where Dana White's frustration becomes obvious. Because he's seen every part of this situation unfold from behind the scenes. He saw the UFC genuinely attempt to build Jones versus Aspinall. He saw Jon quietly remove himself from the conversation. He saw fans turn on Tom because of the accidental eye pokes. He saw analysts twist the story into something unrecognizable. He saw a wave of negativity grow around Tom, while Jon never once stepped in to correct the misinformation. Meanwhile, Tom spent week after week going to specialists, getting scans, taking medical tests, and trying to figure out whether he could even continue fighting. And right when he was dealing with the most uncertain moment of his career, Jon Jones chose that exact time to mock him publicly. That is the part Dana can't stand. Not because he's choosing sides, but because behavior like that trivializes fighter health, makes the promotion look reckless, and turns a very real medical issue into a cheap social media spectacle aimed at embarrassing a fighter who has done everything right since joining the UFC. The heavyweight landscape is now split, with some fans accusing Jon Jones of disrupting the championship lineage, while others believe Tom Aspinall is being unfairly torn down by a narrative built on misunderstanding and misinformation.
And he's waiting around for Jon Jones for a whole year, over a year. Career on hold. Despite the fact that he told everyone, look, this guy ain't going to fight me. He's going to retire before he'll fight me. So you might as well just give me the title now. But unfortunately, the UFC, they wanted to believe that their GOAT was the man that they bigged him up to be. And they were wrong. And after working his whole life to become UFC heavyweight champion, this was the way it was announced.
Jon Jones called us last night and retired. Jon Jones is officially retired. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
All right, Dana, calm down. Don't get too excited. And that was in the middle of the night in some random ass UFC press conference. No ceremony, no celebration, no congratulations, Tom. We've got the best young fighter in the world. It was as if no one gave a fuck from the UFC. It was so bad. And I get Dana was pissed because he'd been made to look a fool by Jon Jones. But that was never Tom Aspinall's fault. Tom just wanted to fight the best guy he possibly could. And you'd think MMA fans would love that. There's a fighter who's trying to fight the best, wants to win the title, wants to defend the title and be an active heavyweight champion, something we've not had in God knows how long in the UFC. But no, because Jon Jones weirdly has a lot of fans who want to see him protected and not get his chin smashed to bits, they supported the guy who ran away from the fight and trashed Tom consistently. What a weird fan base.
Dana White has now been pushed into the center of a conflict that never should have escalated this far. The UFC's plan was simple: set up Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones for the historic White House event, the biggest promotional stage the organization has ever secured. But when Jon refused the fight, and then resurfaced only to mock a serious injury, Dana's patience snapped out as a result. The White House card is moving forward without Jon Jones. Dana isn't willing to reward behavior that harms the company's image and undermines everything the event represents. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall is left dealing with a storm he never created. His toughness, his professionalism, and even his integrity are being questioned by people who have no understanding of the medical reality he's facing. And with every new update about how complicated the injury truly is, more people turn against Jon's narrative. Fighters, former champions, analysts, and journalists are openly calling out the disrespect, especially since Tom has never trashed Jon publicly. He's spent most of his career praising Jon as one of the greatest fighters of all time. This entire situation has turned into a pressure cooker within the UFC. The organization knows it, can't keep ignoring the epoche problem. It can't allow athletes to be mocked for legitimate medical issues. And it can't let a legend like Jon Jones reshape the truth at the expense of a champion who has done everything right.
Does he fight in 2026? True or false?
Well,
he's talking so much smack about Tom.
He doesn't have the money to not. He doesn't have the money to walk away. He doesn't have any choice. I mean, that's
why did he walk away to begin with? He was offered $30 million.
Yeah.
He asked for 30, and he got that.
Yeah, no,
and now he's apologizing.
Yeah, no, I don't know. He
miscalculated that one.
Math. Yeah, he did that thing with Nate, and they got $300,000, and it took 30 days, and so all of a sudden he's like, "Well, if I can make $300,000 in 30 days, and I can do this every 30 days."
Sure.
No, I mean, sometimes explaining very basic things it can be tough, but. Will he fight again? Yes, I believe so. And I think there's some real legs. Look, if you're the UFC, the last thing you want to do is empower a dude that you can't count on. And by the way, it ties back into my theory to whoever's keeping him out of the rankings. Like there's something.
What are you left feeling after the fight?
Well, look, if you were sidelined from doing your job for like 15 months, not allowed to do anything, you train your ass off for 6 months for a fight. Then to get double eye pokes, be left with no vision for nearly 6 weeks because of an illegal move. How do you think I feel? I'm not feeling fantastic, am I?
The growing tension inside the UFC is exactly why Dana White's patience is wearing thin. Jon Jones taking shots at a fighter who may be dealing with long-term vision damage isn't just a bad look, it's an insult to every athlete who steps into the cage. What makes the situation even more explosive is that Tom Aspinall has never asked for pity, never tried to play the injury card, and never attempted to use his medical condition to gain leverage over Jon or the UFC. All he did was lay out the facts. He showed the medical scans, explained his symptoms, and allowed people to see just how serious the problem really was. Instead of being respected for that honesty, his transparency became ammunition for critics who were desperate to paint him as soft, unreliable, or unworthy of holding the heavyweight spotlight. And the irony is painful. Tom Aspinall built his entire career on stepping up when others stepped away. If reliability was measured like knockouts, Tom would be undefeated. That's why his injury update rocked the MMA world, not because the damage was surprising, but because it proved every accusation thrown at him after the Cyril Gane fight was routed in misunderstanding, not reality. He didn't quit, he didn't fold, he didn't look for an escape. He suffered an eye injury severe enough to impair eye movement, strain surrounding muscles, and jeopardize his long-term vision. No fighter, not one, could continue under those conditions without risking blindness or lifelong neurological issues. And Jon Jones, a man widely regarded as one of the sharpest minds in MMA, someone who understands exactly how dangerous these injuries are, chose to weaponize this moment and turn it into a personal attack. That's where Dana White reached his breaking point. Dana has dealt with drama, negotiations, insults, and chaos for decades. But he has always drawn the line at fighters mocking legitimate injuries. He's seen eye pokes ruin careers. He's watched champions decline because of one freak moment. And he knows how deadly heavyweight strikes can be when a fighter's vision is compromised. So when Jon publicly dismissed Tom's explanation, Dana didn't see a rivalry. He saw a reckless narrative that could undermine the entire conversation around fighters' safety. The UFC is already facing criticism for the ongoing eye poke problem. Fights have been stopped, outcomes altered, careers changed forever. Everyone knows the issue exists: fans, fighters, and Dana himself. Tom Aspinall just became the latest example of how devastating it can be when the problem goes unresolved. That's why Dana wasn't only frustrated with the backlash against Tom, he was frustrated with the organization and himself. Because Tom Aspinall is the exact type of athlete the UFC wants to highlight, a world-class fighter who carries himself like a champion in and out of the cage, a professional who speaks with class, trains with discipline, and repeatedly saves cards by accepting dangerous fights on almost no notice. And now, that same fighter, the man who kept the heavyweight division alive during its most chaotic period, is being publicly attacked while dealing with a potentially career-threatening injury. That is the kind of situation that makes Dana White snap.
Through this, Tom's the one that's getting absolutely slaughtered online, and Tom's the one 6 weeks later still having to go to the doctor and still can't train and do any kind of combat. So he's the man that's living with this, okay? So you understand, you kind of will get emotional, you will be pissed off, and you will think that Cyril Gane was doing that on purpose. I still don't, okay? I don't think Cyril Gane did that on purpose. What you want to do is crack someone in the face, and when the hands are out, when you go to grab if someone comes in to take you down or whatever. Sometimes that happens. That's why this whole rule of the fingers being up, not allowed there, but they're allowed there, is stupid.
This is number one bullshit.
Because what happens when someone comes forward and you got to grab them, because you can grab, you're allowed to in the rules, fingers go haywire, go into eyes. Make a fist, make a loose fist. It's not hard. That's all that's going to happen. But anyway, so Tom's saying that, and he's getting absolutely slaughtered online. A lot of people are talking shit. Okay, all you've got to do is Google his name, look on Instagram, look on Twitter, and some of the comments are just ridiculous.
What's your reaction to the eye poke and how it all went out?
I mean, I feel the way everybody feels. Great showing, shitty ending, you know?
It would seem obvious that a rematch is right on the cards. Would you like to just rebook these guys as soon as Tom is able to get back in there?
Yeah, total pain in the ass, but yeah.
Think about Dana White saying Tom didn't continue.
Tom didn't want to continue in the fight, so.
And then also, who gives it to eye pokes?
Who gives it?
Well, listen, I didn't continue. I'll tell you why I didn't continue. Because I'm not a dummy. Like, I'm not going to go out there and fight one of the best strikers in the world if I can't see. I know, as an MMA fighter, look, things are going to happen in the fight that compromise you. Go back and watch my fight with Arlovski. The end of the first round, he punched me right in the eyeball. For the rest of that fight, I couldn't see him out that eye. That's fine. If you get punched or kicked in the eye, that's fine. If you get double eye poked in both eyes and you've got no vision because of a foul, why should I carry on so some dummy can look and say, oh yeah, Tom just got knocked out? Because I ain't going to fight if I can't see anything because of a foul.
What fueled the backlash even further was how quickly misinformation and the loudest, most reactionary voices drowned out reality. But now that the real details are public, the entire smear narrative has fallen apart, and fighters who know firsthand what hidden injuries actually feel like are stepping forward to defend Tom Dot at this point. The story isn't about ranking the best heavyweight or debating who holds the stronger resume. Tom's injury, Jon's public mockery, and Dana White's breaking point have shifted the conversation completely. Now, it's about character. It's about which athletes carry themselves with dignity. It's about who understands the weight of their influence and who respects the dangers every fighter faces each time they walk into the cage. And more importantly, it's about standing behind a man who has given the UFC everything he possibly could, inside and outside the octagon.